Y 2013. If you guys have seen my other videos, you know I have one called Why Android Phones Suck, and I also have one called Why the iPhone Sucks. And I'm going to do a remake of that with some updated information and call it Why Android Phones Still Suck. And we'll go over some of the top phones of 2013. I've got a broken HTC One here. You can see the screen is kind of screwed up. If I unlock this, you can see that it's sort of black on the bottom. I have a Galaxy S4, one of the brand new ones, rooted Cyanogen Mi 10. Galaxy S4 Active, HTC Droid DNA, which is off, and the ever-prevalent, fantastic iPhone 5. And we'll talk a little bit about why all these Android phones suck when you compare them to the iPhone, and how it hasn't really changed over the course of Android. Again, Android has gotten better, but if you compare it to the iPhone, it's just not there. Okay, so another example of why Android phones suck. We have an HTC One here, brand new phone, just got it a couple weeks ago, and an iPhone 5. And you can see the screen on this guy is not really up to snuff here. I've got this random black bar that doesn't go away and comes back on reboot, and it's obviously a hardware problem with the phone. Okay, the phone wasn't dropped. You can see there's no damage to the phone. It's not water damage. The screen just decided to go bad. And the iPhone 5, just for comparison, has a perfectly intact screen. Nothing wrong with the iPhone. Now, what do I have to do with this to get it fixed? Can I go walk into the HTC store and have them replace it? No. I've got to go and call HTC, set up an RMA. They're going to tell me I have to ship it back to HTC. It's going to take me 2 weeks to probably get this phone repaired at best, probably longer, for them to get the phone, fix it, and send it back to me. Now, had that been the same problem on the iPhone, I would have walked into the Apple store, I would have shown them the broken phone, I would have walked out with a brand new iPhone 5, no questions asked, because of the hardware problem. So you can see that if you have an iPhone and you have a hardware issue and you're still under warranty, you get to go in and out of the store with a new device. If you have an Android phone and you have a problem with the warranty, or excuse me, with the hardware, they're going to tell you to contact warranty support for HTC or Samsung or LG or whomever may be the manufacturer of your device. Alright, I've got a Nexus 4 here, and this is another reason why Android phones suck in 2013. Let's go to the Play Store. I want to download a new app. No connection. I don't really know why that didn't work. Let me go to the internet just to make sure I've got a connection here. The phone says it's on Wi-Fi. Internet obviously works. I mean, I can click on stuff and, you know, it's working. So I really want to download that new app I just heard about. Let's go back to the Play Store, try it again. No connection. Yeah, little buggy inconsistencies all over the operating system, all over the applications. This stuff just doesn't work, and this happens all the time on Android. And who am I supposed to go to for help about this? Do I go to the Android store to get help? Do I like call Mr. Android and have him help me? No. I have to either figure it out on my own or rely on the internet or ask a friend. If this were an iPhone, I could go down to the Apple store, they could give me a help, they could replace my hardware if it was a hardware problem, or at least point me in the right direction with one of their geniuses, or have an answer for my question. But instead I'm stuck with pressing retry and having it not do anything. So yet another example of why Android phones still suck. Alright, we're out here in my car. We're going to talk a little bit about more little inconsistencies with Android and how iPhone is better. But what we're going to do is I've got my iPhone here, Bluetooth connected to my JVC in my car. Same thing with my S4. I've got my S4 also paired with this. But we're just going to fire up the iPhone first, just to give you an example of how things are supposed to work, and then we're going to show you on Android how they don't work. So for now, we're just going to look and make sure that the iPhone's actually connected to the JVC. We'll fire up Bluetooth. We'll make sure that make sure this is all happy, and then we'll play some Spotify, showing you how the phone communicates with JVC. So we're connected. We'll go to Spotify here now. We'll play some tunes. We'll turn up the volume. And we'll listen. So we've got some Ellie Goulding here. Good song. The iPhone, displays some information. JVC also displays the name of the song. I can also control, right? I've got control over stuff too, so I can change it. We're going to turn this down. Right, so now if I go back, that's the way it should work. It's Bluetooth, it's audio, you have control from the stereo. It's great, works perfect. I'm going to go now and kill Bluetooth on here. and we're going to pause the video and then fire up the S4. Alright, so we've got our Samsung connected. You can see the little blue Bluetooth icon here on the top. Pretty similar to the iPhone. You know, it takes a couple seconds to get connected, but the point here is we're going to go into Spotify now, and we're going to play a song here, right? And we're going to make sure that the volume's on, and we're going to hit go. Now, here's my issue with this whole thing. Okay, song's obviously working. Yeah, Spotify has some details here, but here's the JVC, right? It says no name. So I don't get, you know, I can't see what song is actually playing. Okay, so if I put my phone down and if I hit next, right, it actually obviously plays and it has control, but I can't see the name of the song, which is a bummer because it's Bluetooth, it's the same app, it's the same stereo, right? But I don't get the same information I do with Android as I do with iPhone. And so, you know, the fanboys, what they'll say is, oh, well, that's JVC's problem. But no, it's not JVC's problem because it doesn't work on Android and it does work on iPhone. So I don't care if it's the manufacturer, I don't care if it's the accessory maker, that's not the point. The point is when I use my iPhone, it works, and when I use my Android, it doesn't. And it's just another example of little inconsistencies, little buggy things that you run into all the time with Android that you don't run into with iPhone. Alright, if you've stuck with me for this long, then you're at least entertained. But what we have here is we have three different Android phones. We have a Samsung Galaxy S4, an LG Ignite, I think is what this is called, and a LG Nexus 4 over here. Now, LG, Samsung. So one of the other reasons why Android phones suck, that people get overwhelmed with hardware choices when they have no idea what they're buying and they're not technologically savvy. They walk into a phone store, they see all three of these phones, and they're like, I don't know what to get. I'm not a phone user. I don't have any experience with tech. I'm going to get the cheapest phone that's possible, or the free phone, or whatever. So what do you have? You have somebody that looks and sees a $199 phone, and they see a 99-cent phone, or they don't even see this phone because it's not in the store and it's available on Google Play, and they have no idea what Google Play is. They have no idea what unlocked means. They have no idea about anything that's available other than what they have in front of them at the store. And so what do? Well, they end up picking either the free phone or the cheap phone, and they walk away with garbage. They walk away with a phone that's all still stuck on Android 2.3. They walk away with a phone that has a low spec, low hardware, low quality screen, low quality software, and they have a bad experience, right? And then they take their phone and they're like, man, this phone sucks, right? Why is it so slow? Why can't I do anything? And they look at one of their buddies' iPhones and they're like, man, that iPhone is slick. Well, that's the thing. That's the difference. That's why Android phones suck and Apple iPhones don't. Is because when the iPhone comes out, Apple only produces quality hardware. They produce quality hardware, they produce quality software on an annual basis. And when you go and you buy an iPhone, you end up buying a great product. You buy the best that Apple has to offer for that year. That is not the case with Android. You have to know your hardware. You have to know what you're buying. And unless you take the time to do the research, and unless you ask somebody, or if you already are a technically savvy person, you might know the answer to that. But a lot of people don't know that, and so they end up buying crap. When instead, they can go and buy a nice piece of hardware from Apple that they know is quality, that they know will have good support, that they know will have top of the line software, top of the line hardware, and they don't have to think about it. So if you have this choice of phone, hardware, software combination that you have no idea about, a lot of people like to go with Apple, mostly because they know they're getting a good quality hardware, good quality software, and they have to turn their brain off and not try and decide between all these different other Android phones. Alright, so I hope you've enjoyed this video. Try not to bash Android phones too much, but there are little inconsistencies and little bugs that you've got to deal with if you're going to go with an Android phone. A lot of people who are trying to decide between an iPhone and an Android phone might have to take these things into consideration. I do use an S4. This is my phone I use every day. I do use the iPhone too, obviously, but I prefer Android for lots of different reasons. Lots more flexibility, versatility. You can do a lot more with Android than you can with the iPhone, but you do have to deal with these little bugs, these little inconsistencies, these little annoyances that have been around since the get-go. And so you got to take that in mind. If you're less tech savvy, if you don't want to deal with it, this is the way to go. Apple puts out a nice product, nice phone, good quality hardware and software every year. This is the phone. If you don't know anything about phone technology and you want something that works, this is what you're going to want. If you want to play around with your device, if you want something with a little bit bigger screen, maybe more high tech, maybe more cutting edge, Android is going to be the way to go. But you're going to have to deal with these little bugs and these little things that are going to annoy you probably from time to time. So take that in consideration. Hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Don't forget, check out my other ones and rate, comment, and subscribe. Thanks.